It's truly startling the massive trail of dead bodies that keeps accumulating around Hillary Clinton, as this crooked swamp which will simply kill off anyone who tries to spill the beans on her dirty little secrets. Cross this woman and you're likely to get solicited with a double tap to the back of the head as Hillary comes under closer scrutiny for her dirty dealings with the Uranium One scandal. The timing of yet another death becomes extremely suspicious given her track record for conveniently making people disappear who are about to implicate her in another scandal. Now an extremely disturbing list has just been produced of all the mysterious deaths that Hillary has been tied to just since last year, as the total death toll swells to over 60. 1. Steve Mostyn. Several weeks ago, ex-DNC Chair Donna Brazile revealed how Hillary rigged the Democratic primaries against Bernie Sanders, and how she believed that Hillary was behind the unsolved death of DNC staffer Seth Rich. Brazile said she feared for her life and worried she'd be killed next, and took additional measures to protect herself by installing a security system in her home and would pull the blinds to thwart off snipers. Now on the heels of Brazile's startling revelation, it's just been reported that a Democratic mega-donor and Houston attorney Steve Mostyn has just been found dead. We're true to form. The man's death is being ruled as suicide. Mostyn had once been close to Clinton, but the relationship came under severe stress back in 2015 when an ethics watchdog group Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, FACT, filed a formal complaint against Clinton and her campaign for illegal coordination with the Ready for Hillary super PAC. Mixed Politics reported the timing of his death is disturbing given the fact that Clinton has once again found herself at the center of scrutiny for alleged dirty dealings during her time as Secretary of State with the Uranium One deal in which she and her foundation were paid off to approve a deal effectively turning over 20% of our uranium deposits to the Kremlin. 2. Joseph Mifsud. Just last week, a well-known professor mysteriously vanished without a trace from Rome, where no one has been able to locate him at his work or place of residence. Joseph Mifsud was at the heart of Hillary's dirt claim when missing without a trace, leaving a trail of questions. Mifsud disappeared last week, and hasn't showed up for work where he teaches at the University of Rome. According to one of Mifsud's colleagues, he had recently declared that he had compromising material on Hillary that would serve as the missing link between Hillary and the dirt the Russians had on her. CNN reported, Joseph Mifsud, the Maltese academic suspected of being a link between the Trump campaign and Russian officials, was once a regular on the foreign policy circuit, attending conferences the world over. Now, after being identified as a key figure in the U.S. Special Counsel investigation into Russian influence over the 2016 U.S. presidential election, Mifsud has gone to ground. 3. Journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia. Several months ago, investigative journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia was behind the massive leak of 11.5 million documents called the Panama Papers that revealed how a Panama law firm helped some of the richest people from all around the world establish offshore tax havens on the Central American country. This illegal scheme allowed crooked politicians like Hillary Clinton to avoid paying taxes, as they'd simply stash massive amounts of cash in Panama. But Galizia would never have the chance to testify about the investigation or what she knew about Hillary. The investigative journalist was blown to smithereens after a rigged car bomb detonated just moments after she drove away from her residence. Immediately after news broke of Galizia's horrific murder, alarm bells around the world immediately went off, with political pundits immediately labeling Galizia's death a political murder. Shocking doesn't begin to describe this. Journalist Mark Micallef wrote, where it's believed that Galizia was blown up by a bomb that was being remotely controlled and detonated by an IED. In the weeks leading up to her murder, Galizia had told authorities that she was being constantly harassed and threatened with her life. ABC News reported, Caruana Galizia had been sued for libel because of various articles she wrote on her blog Running Commentary, and she had filed a report with the police 2 weeks ago that she was receiving threats. Monday evening's Parliament session was scrapped, except for briefings about the bombing scheduled to be given by Mr. Muscat and opposition leader Mr. Delia. For State Department and federal agent Kurt Smolik. Back in August, State Department and federal agent employee Kurt Smolik's decaying corpse was pulled from the Potomac River. Smolik was hot on the trail exposing Hillary's ties to Pizzagate, as well as her ties to a human child trafficking ring in Cambodia. Cambodia is a country that is infamous for their human trafficking, child sex trafficking, and child sex tourism. The location where Smolik was stationed was a hotspot of this type of illegal activity, and it's possible that he had been privy to some damning information on Hillary Clinton. Yet another state employee is found mysteriously dead, his body pulled from the Potomac after being reported missing. One investigator stated this is related to Pizzagate as possible ties to the child trafficking and the criminals behind the numerous email and fraud-related mysterious deaths. There are clear links to overseas child trafficking hotspots, recent mysterious deaths related to the DNC Clinton email scandals, links to Clinton's State Department. 5. Lord Jacob Rothschild. In what's being reported as a freak, unfortunate private plane and helicopter accident, where the two aircrafts collided mid-air, leaving 4 dead, is far more mysterious than is being said, based on who was on board and is now dead. Amanda Shea from M-Political previously reported what makes this collision strange, outside of how it happened, is that it took place right outside the Rothschild estate and only 3 of the 4 victims have been named. It's being speculated that Lord Jacob Rothschild is among the casualties, and if true, this could be really bad for Hillary. So far, the only victims to be identified, perhaps on purpose, is the pilot of the helicopter, Captain Mike Green, and a student and flight instructor aboard the Cessna, 18-year-old Savan Mundo, who was being instructed by Jaspal Bharti, according to The Sun. So, was Jacob Rothschild, with a very big connection to the Clintons, the 4th victim? Several sources seem to suggest that's the case, but the Rothschild estate has not confirmed nor denied Jacob's well-being. 6. Sean Lucas. Sean Lucas was one of the unfortunate souls to find himself murdered, after he was the attorney who served the DNC with a lawsuit last year that proved that Debbie Wasserman Schultz worked with Hillary to rig the primary election against Bernie Sanders. The complaint was served right before Wasserman Schultz resigned amid the WikiLeaks email scandal on July 24, less than 1 month after Lucas served the DNC amid the WikiLeaks email scandal on July 24. Lucas would be found dead in his bathroom, where the cause of death is still pending according to the medical examiner's office. 7. Seth Rich. DNC staffer Seth Rich savagely murdered last July, right after feeding WikiLeaks with some very disturbing dirt on Hillary. Several weeks later, WikiLeaks would release thousands of emails related to Hillary, but Rich at that point was already dead. After leaving his Northwest D.C. neighborhood early Sunday morning on July 10, Rich was savagely shot multiple times before the shooter fled the scene, leaving zero evidence for authorities to solve the murder. 8. Barrington J. Wisanen Jr. After Lucas' untimely and mysterious death, another attorney by the name of Barrington J. Wisanen Jr. is believed to have taken over the case against the DNC and Hillary, and had been working in recent months on exposing Wasserman Schultz's fraud and visa case in Florida. But just like Sean Lucas and Seth Rich, who died under mysterious circumstances after getting too close to Hillary and the DNC's dirty secrets, Wisanen's life has just come to an abrupt end. His body was just found washed up on a beach in Hollywood, Florida, and investigators have absolutely no explanation for how he wound up dead from trauma to the head. These are chillingly only the recent people to mysteriously die just since last year. The list below of 54 other deaths will absolutely blow your mind, as people mysteriously vanishing around Hillary is a clear pattern that has gone on for years, according to GolfSlaves.com. 1. James McDougal, Clinton's convicted Whitewater partner, died of an apparent heart attack while in solitary confinement. He was a key witness in Ken Starr's investigation. 2. Mary Mahoney, a former White House intern, was murdered July 1997 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just after she was to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House. 3. Vince Foster, former White House counselor and colleague of Hillary Clinton at Little Rock's Rose Law Firm, died of a gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. 4. Ron Brown, Secretary of Commerce and former DNC chairman, reported to have died by impact in a plane crash. A pathologist close to the investigation reported that there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Brown was being investigated, and spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. 5. See Victor Razor II and Montgomery Razor, major players in the Clinton fundraising organization, died in a private plane crash in July 1992. 6. Paul Tooley, Democratic National Committee political director, found dead in a hotel room in Little Rock, September 1992. Described by Clinton as a dear friend and trusted advisor. 7. Ed Willie, Clinton fundraiser, found dead November 1993 deep in the woods in VA of a gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. Ed Willie died on the same day his wife Kathleen Willie claimed Bill Clinton groped her in the Oval Office in the White House. Ed Willie was involved in several Clinton fundraising events. 8. Jerry Parks, head of Clinton's gubernatorial security team in Little Rock, gunned down in his car at a deserted intersection outside Little Rock Park. Son said his father was building a dossier on Clinton. He allegedly threatened to reveal this information. After he died, the files were mysteriously removed from his house. 9. James Bunge died from a gunshot suicide. It was reported that he had a black book of people which contained names of influential people who visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas. 10. James Wilson was found dead in May 1993 from an apparent hanging suicide. He was reported to have ties to Whitewater. 11. Kathy Ferguson, ex-wife of Arkansas Trooper Danny Ferguson, was found dead in May 1994. In her living room with a gunshot to her head. It was ruled a suicide even though there were several packed suitcases, as if she were going somewhere. Danny Ferguson was a co-defendant along with Bill Clinton in the Paula Jones lawsuit. Kathy Ferguson was a possible corroborating witness for Paula Jones. 12. Bill Shelton, Arkansas State Trooper and fiancé of Kathy Ferguson. Critical of the suicide ruling of his fiancé, he was found dead in June 1994 of a gunshot wound, also ruled as suicide at the gravesite of his fiancée. 13. Gandhi Bhatt, attorney for Clinton's friend Dan Lessater, died by jumping out a window of a tall building January 1994. His client was a convicted drug distributor. 14. Florence Martin, accountant and subcontractor for the CIA, was related to the Barry Seal Mena Airport drug smuggling case. He died of 3 gunshot wounds. 15. Suzanne Coleman, reportedly had an affair with Clinton when he was Arkansas Attorney General. Died of a gunshot wound to the back of the head. Ruled a suicide. Was pregnant at the time of her death. 16. Paula Grover, Clinton's speech interpreter for the deaf from 1978 until her death December 9, 1992. She died in a one-car accident. 17. Danny Casolaro, investigative reporter investigating Mena Airport and Arkansas Development Finance Authority. He slit his wrists, apparently, in the middle of his investigation. 18. Paul Wiltshire, attorney investigating corruption at Mena Airport with Casolaro and the 1980 October surprise, was found dead on a toilet June 22, 1993 in his Washington, D.C. apartment. Had delivered a report to Janet Reno 3 weeks before his death. 19. John Parno Walker, Whitewater investigator for Resolution Trust Corporation, jumped to his death from his Arlington, Virginia apartment balcony August 15, 1993. He was investigating the Morgan Guarantee scandal. 20. Barbara Wise, Commerce Department staffer, worked closely with Ron Brown and John Kwong. Cause of death unknown. Died November 29, 1996. Her bruised, nude body was found locked in her office at the Department of Commerce. 21. Charles Meissner, Assistant Secretary of Commerce who gave John Kwong special security clearance, died shortly thereafter in a small plane crash. 22. Dr. Stanley Hurd, Chairman of the National Chiropractic Healthcare Advisory Committee, died with his attorney Steve Dixon in a small plane crash. Dr. Hurd, in addition to serving on Clinton's advisory council, personally treated Clinton's mother, stepfather and brother. 23. Barry Seal, drug running pilot out of Mena, Arkansas, death was no accident. 24. Johnny Lywern Jr., mechanic, found a check made out to Bill Clinton in the trunk of a car left at his repair shop. He was found dead after his car had hit a utility pole. 25. Stanley Huggins, investigated Madison Guarantee. His death was a purported suicide and his report was never released. 26. Herschel Friday, attorney and Clinton fundraiser, died March 1, 1994 when his plane exploded. 27. Kevin Ives and Don Henry, known as the Boys on the Track case. Reports say the boys may have stumbled upon the Mena, Arkansas airport drug operation. A controversial case, the initial report of death said, due to falling asleep on railroad tracks. Later reports claim the 2 boys had been slain before being placed on the tracks. Many linked to the case died before their testimony could come before a grand jury. The following persons had information on the Ives Henry case. 28. Keith Coney, died when his motorcycle slammed into the back of a truck, July 1988. 29. Keith McMaskill, died stabbed 113 times, Nov. 1988. 30. Gregory Collins, died from a gunshot wound January 1989. 31. Jeff Rhodes, he was shot, mutilated and found burned in a trash dump in April 1989. 33. James Milan, found decapitated. However, the coroner ruled his death was due to natural causes. 34. Jordan Kettleson, was found shot to death in the front seat of his pickup truck in June 1990. 35. Richard Winters, a suspect in the Ives/Henry death. He was killed in a set-up robbery July 1989. The following Clinton bodyguards are dead: 36. Major William S. Barkley Jr. 37, Captain Scott J. Reynolds 38, SGT Brian Hanley 39, SGT Tim Sabel 40, Major General William Robertson 41, Col. William Densberger 42, Col. Robert Kelly 43, Spec. Gary Rhodes 44, Steve Willis 45, Robert Williams 46, Conway LeBleu 47, Tom McKeon 48. World-renowned space economist Molly McCauley was brutally murdered in Baltimore Park. 49. John Ash, the former president of the UN General Assembly, was awaiting trial on bribery charges when he turned up dead in June, apparently having crushed his own windpipe while lifting weights in his home. 50. Victor Thorne, prominent Clinton critic Victor Thorne, found dead of apparent suicide on his birthday. 51. Joe Montano, Filipino-American activist and aide to Senator Kane, dies at 47. 52. Klaus Edward Wein, found dead before testifying against Clinton Foundation in Haiti cover-up. 53. Man who sought Clinton's emails from Russian hackers committed suicide. 54. Steve Mostyn, major player in Hillary's inner circle, suddenly commits suicide.